Hello again. As you can see, I've got some new kit. My mother's computer, old computer, finally packed it in recently, so I thought I'd whip together a nice little system for her to get her back on air. So I got myself, did a bit of research, decided to go with socket 1156. Got the new Core i3, pretty good value. The i3 530, dual core with hyper threading. Pretty good bang for the buck, I reckon. DDR3 memory, and the Gigabyte. Quite like the Gigabyte motherboards now. I used to be an Asus bigot, but now Gigabyte's my new flavour of the month. Yeah, so it's a micro ATX board, socket 1156, has RAID. I got two Western Digital 160 gig drives, and I'll try and mirror those, hoping that they'll support RAID. They're not RAID edition, but I'll have a go. They may be old ones. Anyway, we'll find out. Yeah, so and also the Core i3 has a obviously the onboard graphics. The main idea was this is going to be fairly compact to sit in Mum's place on her desk. Didn't want it to be too big like my beastie. So the Core i3 onboard graphics sounds like it performs pretty well, and will do probably everything and more than what she needs. So I thought it was also a good reason to choose it. Basic DVD writer, a couple of fans for this Silverstone GD05 case. Pretty neat looking case, compact. Yeah, enough space to stick all the stuff in, with a bit of room for expansion if we decide to expand to a dedicated graphics card. The motherboard supports has a PCI Express 16 slot. It should accommodate most graphics cards if the need ever arises. Anyway, this is just a first shot. I'll get cracking and take a few pickies as I go, and get back to you later. Okay, well, finally got the components installed into the case, all hooked up, and on our way. I have to say, not without a few hiccups along the way. I initially plugged it all up together on Saturday, a couple of days ago. It's now Monday, and the system wouldn't boot. It kept powering up and then turning off, and then powering on and turning off. When I had a closer look at the power supply, I noticed it didn't have a 8-pin motherboard plug. Didn't think it needed it, but I assumed that may be the problem, not enough power getting to the motherboard. So I basically had to wait until today to get a replacement PSU. So I opted for a Fatality 550 watt power supply. Not as cheap as the other one, but still quite reasonable. And yeah, had the required 8-pin plug. Raced back home, only to find out it did the same thing. So it wasn't the power supply after all, even with the ATX power and the 8-pin 12-volt power. supplied to the motherboard, it still kept rebooting. However, it did fire up once, got to BIOS, was able to check the configuration. The CPU temperature was 29 degrees, so I assume the CPU was seated properly. So very strange. So I rang up good old Umart, where I've been getting my components. They have a store right here in Brisbane, in Milton, so quite convenient, and of course very cheap. A little free plug for Umart. Anyway, they said, yeah, bring it down, they'll do some testing. So I did. Made another trip down to Milton, and they had a look, and it turned out to be the memory. They put in their own DDR3 memory, 1333 megahertz DDR3 memory. They used Corsair, the ones with the big heat spreaders, and it was fine. So it turned out to be my Gale Value dual channel kit. I unfortunately didn't take the box with me, so I have to go back there and get a refund. And then I picked up some of this Corsair stuff, and we're up and running. So that was a relief. So otherwise, it's looking good. I've done the Windows install, as you can probably see. The onboard graphics works fine. I've got the 2 hard drives plugged into the SATA 2 controller in after having lots of fun with failed drives. I sort of always go for mirrored drives now. It's only going to have one volume, sort of system volume, but I've got 2 160 gigs in RAID 1 mirror config for Mum. That should be plenty to keep it going, and give some redundancy in case she has a problem with one of the discs. She won't lose anything immediately anyway. Overall, pretty pleased. The case, it's very compact, which was the idea, but enough room for the motherboard. I've just got the stock Intel CPU cooler. Reading other reviews and other installs, it seems to do the job. I don't plan to do any overclocking. I might have a play with it, but for Mum's needs, it'll just be running sort of standard. So hopefully it'll run fairly cool. I've got the optional 2 80mm fans in the back there as well to suck out the hot air. Yeah, so again, I'm going to do a bit of cable management. I got this new power supply has modular cables as well, so I'll probably only have the motherboard power, and hopefully probably just 2 more modular power cables to supply the SATA power and the fans. But I think I'll sleeve those up and tie those down and make it look nice and neat. So I'll get on and do that, and I'll come back later, take a few pics and finish up. Cheers.
Nothing that I wouldn't do. Go to the ends of the earth for you, to make you feel my love, to make you feel my love.
Back again. I've finally again finished the build, tidied up the cabling. Pretty tight squeeze in there, so still a few cables running around, but I've got sleeves on them, and it looks neat and pretty good. Pretty satisfied with the result. The Silverstone case. It's the GD05. It's the HTPC home theatre PC style. It looks like a piece of hi-fi. Looks pretty good. It's the 05, which has a plastic fascia. Looks alright, but it's plasticky, so I don't know how long it will last. But otherwise, I guess it's light. The case itself, pretty pleased. Didn't want something too big, as I said, for the old lady. But otherwise, there's a bit of space there for some expansion if we decide to get a graphics card. Otherwise, the onboard graphics, the Gigabyte, there's a H55M-USB3 I guess the X4500 onboard graphics chip seems to do a pretty good job so far, anyway. With the Corsair DDR3 memory, which works as opposed to the Gale, which didn't. It's all up and running, so yeah, ready to put the lid on. There's not a great deal to see, as you can tell it's fairly compact. It's a micro ATX board, fits in nicely. It's got a standard ATX PSU, the Fatality 550 watt seems to be okay. The two 160 gig Western Digital Caviar Blues sitting on top. Snug, but fits well. And the optical drive, which doesn't give a lot of room for the CPU and cooler, but I've just got the stock standard Intel CPU cooler, and yeah, it's running about 29-30 degrees, doing nothing, but hopefully it should be okay, because I think the computer will probably be doing nothing for most of its life. Yeah, so there it is. Anyone that wants to see a Silverstone GD05 case with a Gigabyte H55M-USB3, there it is. Enjoy.